Hi, Elena is here, and today I'm excited to speak with Julie Berndt, an actress, voiceover actor, acting coach, and deep meditation practitioner and teacher. And she played in multiple movies and numerous stage plays. She's the narrator of the award-winning audio drama series Visionaries by Richard
Mhm.
Sinek.
Correct. Yes.
Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much, Elena. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for seeing me today, and I'm happy to have you here. So you are working on season 2 of Visionaries.
Correct.
Visionaries. So
Mhm.
tell us about your experience working in this imaginary apocalyptic reality.
I know
What
it's
is
been,
the project about? And please share your experience and what.
thank you. So it's called Visionaries. It's written and produced by Richard Sinek, and it's an audio drama series, so it's a podcast. And he's already gotten awards for his outstanding production and vocal design. Um, as far as the bunch of actors that we are, it's an adventure always, but I happen to be the narrator, so I'm always alone in the booth. There's no one to interact with. So in order to just get into this scenario, because it's so imaginative. I mean, I'm describing things that I've never seen, right? And so I, I ended up sitting on the floor one time in the recording booth, and I just said, take all the lights out. And I just had, the mic, me, and the light on my page. Um, Apocalyptic, yeah, it has a little bit of Game of Thrones in it. It's like, seems, is it medieval or is it apocalyptic future? And it's all of that. The challenge for me in the booth as a narrator was to really have detailed visuals for what I was saying. Because as a narrator, you kind of hover a little bit like you're in a helicopter or something. You're totally in the scene, but you cannot get upset or want to kill someone, even if I, as Julie, would love the
Mm.
bad guys to just lose, right?
Uh,
But I cannot give off that color when I'm in the narration booth, but you still have to be in it. So that kind of balance was really interesting in terms of craft, in terms of craftsmanship, how to
yeah.
balance that and be very, very intimate with details of it. And I think, yes, you should interview Richard Sinek.
I'd
He's,
love to talk to him.
yeah, he would love to talk to you. I mean, he's fascinating
Mm.
background and storytelling. In terms of it being apocalyptic, and you're asking,
So the story is around oppression and the superior class of people who oppress others, which is really, in my opinion, relates to, in certain of a way, to a reality we live in. What do
absolutely.
you think about this? How does it make you feel, the story that Richard tell us?
Exactly like you started saying, it parallels life. It's set in a very different scenario, different colors and so on, but it's the same thing, absolutely. And I do believe that our structures are kind of crumbling, the powers that are. And I mean, just the limitation of us being an oil-based economy, right? And at the top of that chain is arms and armament, and then the pharmaceutical industry, and then we have alcohol. So cheers, it's like, so I do believe that these old structures that are holding on to the old lines of power, they have to crumble. And out of that is something new coming up. And I think there's plenty in our world of people, for example, in alternative energy, um, a sense of being united as opposed to this oppression. I don't think it can sustain itself much longer. I don't know how much I'm going to see in my lifetime, but I don't think it's sustainable to have that kind of oppression and squeeze people like we are.
Exactly. Is more you squeeze people in the fist, is more they coming through your fingers, right?
True. Good image,
Richard,
Elena.
Richard is very visionary.
Mhm.
What could it be true that our society is heading in a direction envisioned in this series?
I think we just touched on that, right?
Right.
That yes, I do think that the corrupt structures are crumbling. Is it easy for me to see that all the time? No. When I look out on the world, and there are days when you don't want to get out of bed because it really looks bad, you know. Um, but I do believe, I am convinced actually, that the old power structures are crumbling to give way for the new, of a more united consciousness, that we're a we consciousness, you know. But it's the energy, it's the money, and so on. It'll happen.
Another exciting project you're working on recently is The Mayor by David Bellantoni, where you play the mayor.
Yeah.
And the play had a successful reading with ATC Studios. I saw the reading. It's a fascinating story. And I'd like to ask you to share with us your experience working in this play, and what is the story about? And how does
David has written such a rich story. The tapestry is so rich that I have been confused for a long time in terms of, you know, so many different strands of storytelling, and it's really beautifully done. So my character is the mayor, yes, but she's the device for this larger story, right? So she, the character I, have a health challenge, and how that rips through the family, the chaos, rips through the town, because I'm the mayor, and then beyond. It has the abuse of power in one way, in corruption and abuse of power in terms of sexual abuse. There's discrimination, and the redemption of the character that's played by Susan Jane McDonald, when she undergoes her change and sets it all straight, so to speak.
And Susan plays the daughter
My
of the
daughter.
mayor. Your daughter, yes. Yeah.
So in terms of the gang, I mean, it's just delicious to be with people you can trust and you have fun with, and you know, you can go out on a limb and take some chances. So that is just a gift. It's a tremendous gift.
Well, and I'd like to share with the audience that this play, The Mayor, has upcoming staged reading for the industry people.
Yes, it'll be a small private. The date is not set yet. It will be a small private event with the intention of raising funds. So there'll be some Broadway producers, and we'll see what happens.
Wonderful. So good luck with this, and break your leg. I know your path to become an actress wasn't easy, as for most of the actors, but you have an impressive bio.
Thank you.
And you started teaching dance at the age of 14 in your hometown in Sweden. Tell us, please, a little about your background and what motivated you to become an actress.
Okay, I think the challenges for me were always life, right? And it was about being constantly in accidents, you know, and so it became like a saga, a life story, and so on. But I was an actress from the age of 5. My household was that of a physicist father, and my mother was a ballerina. And there were people coming and going and speaking different languages. By the way, my father was the first one invited to Russia when that was the Soviet Union behind the Iron Curtain. But I started acting really in school, like I was 5 years old in kindergarten and then through school. And I did some in college, although I did graduate in math and physics in college, but all the time I was acting. What was the question again?
So what motivated you to become an actress after your because you danced, you teach
Ah, yes.
dancing, but then
So,
did you act all this time while you were dancing, or you concentrated on teaching dancing? I also would like to hear you how you were referred as a healer in your youth. It's so interesting because you had that quality that made
thank you.
people trust you when you were so young.
Yes, that's true. Now I was tall. At the age of 14, I was as tall as I am now. So that was a little bit of authority that came free, you know. But yes, so my mom trained me, and I was already a substitute for her when I was a young kid. By the time I'm 14, already her colleagues in Stockholm know about this because she was the chairman of the Swedish Dance Association. And thus, she knew so many people, and they started hearing about me substituting. So all of a sudden, at the age of 14, I'm substituting for a lot of people in professional schools in Stockholm. Um, and again, because I was tall as a dancer, I got the adult parts. So the acting and dancing really went hand in hand that way. And I so enjoy that background now as an actress, giving me some control and joy in the movements, that can be applied for different characters.
And you are very elegant. Maybe it's your dancing background that makes you look so stunning in
Thank
person
you.
and on stage. Your posture is
Thank you.
beautiful.
Well, it's time to work on it again. This digital age, I just find myself sitting. I mean,
Yes,
these
yes.
screens. Oh, so anyway, much more so than before.
No.
You know. So oh yeah, so the healer thing. That was a funny little moment with my mom. I was working on her foot, her calf. She had asked me to help her. And all of a sudden, she just looks at me and pulls her foot away and says, I should make appointments with you. I was
Huh.
a young child, 6 or 7. And then the adults started lining up to have hands on. They recognized that there were some healing properties emanating from my hands. And I enjoyed it. And then when I came here, I actually came to dance. I came to Juilliard school. And then when I had another accident, I said, this is it, you know. But what was great about that was that it shifted to full-time acting as opposed to part-time, and having danced so much. So I remained in New York and trained here. And still with these accidents and stuff like that, I had to seek alternative ways for healing. And so now I'm starting to build up my arsenal that the child healer now puts together. So I learned many different modalities. And then the meditation, the very deep meditation practice actually came out of pain. I didn't want to take all those painkillers, and so I started doing that, and that developed and got deeper. And then it became what is referred to as channeling. And then it brought me back to the acting full time. Since I was a child, always helping others, again, being tall, I was the one protecting the smaller girls from the bullies because I could bully back. It's like very simple. And so I refer to it as the accident, but really there was so many. And I mean, it's a wonder. And I have had, 27, 28 surgeries. It's
Oh
a
my
wonder that I am just walking straight up and so on and so forth. And the
God.
meditation practice has been golden for that. So after that healing had started kicking in, so to speak, then that was what was bringing me back to the acting.
I
And
see.
now, yeah. So I don't know if it was a decision to help others. I think, when we can, isn't that a kind of innate in all of us? And the better we feel, the more we want to help and the more we want to give to ourselves too.
Yes, I agree. When you fulfilled with knowledge, with an experience, with something that helped you, you want to share. If you're a good person, of course. Which you are.
And on a good day,
Yes, I just wanted to clarify a little bit that how you're acting, because you're very, you have a wonderful craft as an actress, and I just wanted to see what helped you in your life to build this craft, because it doesn't come sometimes often. This such a polished talent craft doesn't come from only good. It sometimes quite often comes from troubles we experience in life. That's what I wanted to say. But thank you for sharing that a story of yours that you've been through the accident and so many surgeries. And you are a living person, a witness of that the body can heal itself through the mindset, through the taking right steps towards and working with the energy correctly. And
yes,
I believe
definitely.
in this concept as well.
So much more is possible than we think is possible. And the innate life force in the body is intelligent if we just allow it, to do its own work. Now it's taken a little bit of time and my craft has developed, incrementally, but that was more also related to how comfortable am I with myself? When someone is relaxed, there's just more life than something to strive for, right? So for example, when I played Lady Macbeth, that was the first time that I really enjoyed the craft. Like I wake up in the morning and I'd be planning, today, let me do this, let me do that. It wasn't the anxiety about, will they like me? And sometimes will I remember my lines? Because after all, it was Shakespeare. And so, I had to rehearse that. But other than that, I noticed that my focus was really on what could I do tonight? What could I bring here? Let me take that part. And that kind of stuff. And that was really wonderfully freeing. The craft had taken over.
And you received great praises for that role, the role of Lady Macbeth.
Yes. Anyway, so I enjoyed the classics, but I also enjoyed very much experimental physical theater. And I got to do that with a worldwide lab. And they came out of Lincoln Center Directors Lab. So that was fascinating. You're presented with an idea, and then you start, seeing what's going to come out of that with your directors, with everything. And it's just been fascinating. I mean, it was improvisational physical in the development of it. But once in performance, you're not improvising.
I see.
So it's not the improv that's taught now in the modern world and that we all need, and it was very interesting. At one time, we had a script that had been banned in Iraq, and the playwright had to leave, and it was called Burkanza because of the burqa. And it's just to meet all these people and different cultures and learning. A fascinating international milieu, but you had to really go out on a limb. You had the old tools are not there. Now you have to create new ones. So that was fascinating.
And what are your favorite roles on stage and film?
Oh, right. So apart from Lady Macbeth, I really like playing Zelda Fitzgerald, the muse of F. Scott Fitzgerald. And it was interesting because it was a bit of American modern history. And I love that. And learning and that time in Paris. And there was actually an audience member when we did it in New York who drew the parallel between the 20s And then we had the Depression that set in, right? And here, this audience member thought that, oh my God, it reminded him of when the 60s were over and there was more restraint that was coming back into the societies, societal ways of living. But I loved working on her, and that was kind of a funny way I got hired for it, because a boyfriend had broken up and I wanted to get away. She was going to Edinburgh to the festival, and she said, Julie, why don't you come with me? You can always help me out. And I said, oh, what a great idea. So she says, okay, you want to do box office tonight? And I did box office. And all of a sudden, this playwright, his name is Willard Sims. He is the writer of Zelda and numerous plays, and also is awarded and many times over. And I see him at the end of the hallway, the lobby, and he's talking vividly to someone about needing an actress. The actress playing Zelda was in Los Angeles, stayed on in Los Angeles, did not arrive in Edinburgh. And he was looking for an actress. And I was like, but I had all the money. What?
Synchronicity.
Yes. And so I had all the money there on the table and the lobby full of people. And I thought, oh my God, I can't leave. My girlfriend wasn't around. I couldn't get help. So I thought, okay, everything done. Fast forward several hours later, I'm invited to a party. I'm dead dog tired. I don't feel like going, but I went. And just as someone had filled my glass and I turned around and I looked out into the room, there he was, my playwright. So I just walked up and I said, hey, I can do it. And then we met the next morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we only had time to work on the first act. So he gave me a rough outline of what was going on. I performed it, but with a script, right? And in the intermission, he outlined act number 2, and I went back in and I did it. And then it became somewhat more collaborative. And that was so interesting. We actually combined the first and second act. And I said, why doesn't Zelda go behind a screen? And combine it that way. So it was fascinating to work on that.
You had to learn your lines?
No. I did it script in hand. So it was like a stage reading, but I moved about and so on, and knew who I talked to. So anyway, we did that in Edinburgh, and the Scotsman came around twice, a newspaper, but they were not allowed to review me because I had my script in hand, because I was not off book. And that's just a basic, standard that they had to follow. But it was so much fun to do it. And then back in New York, someone wanted me to do it again. And I thought, no, I'm not playing a Southerner with, that's really challenging. So anyway, and then I started reading the biography on Zelda. And the biographer says people were talking about her in Montgomery, Alabama, and saying that no one sounded like Zelda. Evidently, she had affected an accent pretty much like Christy Brinkley did when she affected a French accent in Venice Beach, California. So I thought, all right, that gives me the license to sound any which old way. So we did it here too. It was great.
So that's wonderful, because you just were at the right place at the right time and you just jumped in.
Yeah.
And you were perfect for the role. That's great.
Isn't that interesting? Because I felt like I was not perfect for it and that I could not produce a proper accent, but in every other way I was. And it was evidently enough for the audience to just take the travel with me.
Great. And another favorite role you played in film, I believe it's Gun-Toting Auntie.
Yes, that was so much fun because of that. So I ran around in black clothing and brandished a gun. I also got to have a knife in one sequence. So I cleaned my teeth. It was so much fun, but I'm thinking of taking it out of my reel because it's already a few years ago. Lydia Ronsky Ruins Christmas, and it was directed and written by Scarlett Mayer, and it was a short film. Yeah, but it plays like a feature. Yeah, so that was great.
Could you share with us your meditation teaching? So do you take students? I know you have some private students at this point. How do you run your sessions, and what does it take to become your student to apply for your expertise?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for asking that and thinking of that. Well, I can be contacted via Insta, Julie Berndt. And what does it take other than interest, sincere interest? Because I'm not interested in I'm interested in students who want to learn, who want to become independent. So if life can be sort of likened to, let's say, a hurricane, right? Mm-hmm. Can tear through. We live in these hurricanes of our emotional ups and downs and stuff, right? There's always in a center that's dead still in a hurricane. It's called the eye of the needle, the eye of the hurricane, the eye of the hurricane. So it is quite possible to get into such a relaxed state. My experience of it is that you sort of elevate like you were in a helicopter, and all of a sudden I see my life from a larger perspective. And just that empowers you, right? And the other opposite end of coming to such stillness and calm, that one can have this enlarged perspective, is emotional release. ER, in a way, emotional release. And I have students who've beaten the crap out of pillows with the hockey sticks or whatever. And one student, she was walking down to the viaduct just screaming, where the cars were making so much noise that, the neighbors could not hear her. There's something really interesting and real that happens. Because between the electromagnetic frequencies, the heart, when feelings come up, they also come out. It's like bubbles up and out. You have perhaps experienced having a really good cry.
Sure.
And the odd feeling of being sort of elated. That is real. There has been a serious change in biochemistry and in frequency of the brain waves. That is absolutely real. And the effects in the body are just there. You can't go back on that. So it's very powerful. So what does it take? Well, it takes a phone or a laptop. Back in the days when we were meeting a lot more, I used to see people first, and then they got used to it, the format. So my job is really to just induce or restart a relaxation. And in that relaxation, stuff will bubble up. And if, for example, someone has a question directing it to me, I might be guided to direct it back as to what do you feel? What is going on underneath? And when that happens, the light just goes off. And when that happens, you see more almost than when somebody tells you. Because it comes from, So when the student sees it for themselves, it goes, oh, and there's this amazing relaxation through the body. And it expands. Now, I had a really wild expanse of my own consciousness when I was actually playing Lady Macbeth. I had not asked for that one. Anyway, so I'm standing on stage, I'm close to the curtain, and all of a sudden I'm having an out-of-body experience. That is kind of cool if I'm sitting on my couch at home, but on stage, standing up, it was a little scary. So I stood there, and the consciousness was so expanded that there was no separation between me and the curtain, the molecules and the atoms of the curtain. and it was exhilarating, but absolutely terrifying. So anyway, a few breaths, and I pulled in, or naturally just came back into the body, and then just shot out to the next scene.
Wow. Fascinating. Wow. So we experience something similar when we sleep, but it was you were conscious, you were on stage. It's something like a different level of a development of your, consciousness. And
I mean, we all have it. It's like a huge sphere, bubble, right, around us. The body is like just, if you think of a big, large plum, the body would be the pit. And all of this energy around, consciousness, awareness, whatever you want to call it, is there for all of us. But there are times when it shuts down, it becomes closed in. Or if I'm enraged or deeply, deeply sad and grieving, well, that's the place I'm in. And it has to be until it starts changing and transforming on its own. And it does that when we let the feelings up and out. But if we bury them and deny them, the frequencies then can become manifest as illness. But it's starting to open up. And like, I have never done TV. I'm just on stage and film. And I'm going to have a little upcoming appearance on my first TV show, actually, Dr. Death, that is produced by Peacock, and another movie. But so in terms of any advertising about myself, I have not done much at all. And that is the same thing for the meditation and the body work. So if anyone feels drawn to it, absolutely contact me on Insta. That would be the easiest way right now. If you look up Visionaries audio drama, then you'll be able to see what platforms. Perhaps you're already subscribing to one, or otherwise there were some that are free too.
Great.
Yeah.
And this is where people can listen to your voice as a narrator in the series.
Yeah, and I evidently have garnered some fantastic reviews, and I have to ask Richard to tell me what they are and so on. And I didn't know that it was going to be so appreciated, just holding a framework, for the episode, for the happening and so on. Quite enjoyed it. The physical part was a bit harder. Either I came in, I'd eaten too much, or I'd eaten too little, and the microphone just picked up on any kind of rumbling or any kind of sound.
Oh.
You learn, you live and learn. And it also depends on how good the mic is and where the technician places it.
So in the booth, recording booth, do you have what basic rules for the voiceover to follow to be prepared? Water,
Right.
maybe a glass of water.
Oh yeah, always the water, always wet.
Words.
Always wetness, always the water. I prefer also warm water. Seems to lubricate better than the cold water. And a lip balm, to constantly do that. Definitely do not come on an empty stomach. Sometimes as an actress, if I have to do lots of physical stuff, I want to be lighter, in what I've eaten. But you cannot have any rumblings in the stomach. So the other thing is an absolute concentration, as in all things. And I'd often find that my hands would move and elongate the sounds. If there was a sound coming from, my hands would move, because the mic picks up the room temperature, the room sound. So that, yeah.
So many details in this work. And you're a pro in this.
But I enjoy it. Enjoy it very much.
Julie, thank you so much for being with me and sharing your stories.
Thank you, Elena. Elena, I have been so impressed by some of the podcasts that I have listened to, and your amazing array of interest. And a businesswoman and a legal background, and you're a beautiful actress. And so I want to learn more about you.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm here in New York, and maybe we can get together for a cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would look forward to
And
that.
definitely we'll watch your work once you're on stage or you're in other projects. I'll follow up, and I hope you will share with me as well. So when you're working and it's available for the audience, and I'll be there to support it.
Wow, you'll be the first one to know.
Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Elena. What a
Very
pleasure.
Thank you, Julie.
Ciao.
Great day.